Hello everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tales Crafts, and today I'm creating a pop-up book card using our A7 pop-up book die set and the new A7 berry branch cover plate. I'll be using the plate and also the words that are in that set, and then I'm going to use the flowers from the poinsettia topper die set. So I went ahead and die cut everything I need to create this card off camera. What I'm folding here is the front and back cover of the book. There's just two score lines on the left side, and you tape those two pieces together to create basically the binding of the book. I'm going to add a strip of 1/2 inch double-sided tape down the center of one of those panels. I'm basically just overlapping the tape with that first score line, and then I'm just going to fill in the rest of the area with glue just in between the leftmost side and that second score line is where you're going to add all your adhesive. Then you can line up the second panel right over, and then that creates the front and back cover. So now we're going to create the pages of the book. So I die cut these from lightweight craft cardstock, and I'm going to trim them down. So the die set includes this accordion, and I want it to be a little bit smaller, so I'm cutting down 2 panels to 4.5, and then the other 2 panels to 6 3/4. If I were to make this card again, I would cut, instead of 2 at 6 3/4, I would do 2 at 6.5, just because my cover plate ends up being 6 3/4. So I like to have a little bit of wiggle room inside my book for my shadow box, but I didn't think of it at the time. So I'm going to go with this, and it ends up being okay. You just have to be careful when you line it up. So here I'm just lining up or reinforcing each of the score lines, and then all you have to do is an accordion fold all the way up. So basically one fold up, flip the panel around, then fold up again, flip it back around, fold up, flip around, fold up. You keep doing that process all the way to the end, and then you'll be left with these mountains and valleys. So I'll do that to the third panel, just first reinforcing the score lines by folding them all upwards. That's kind of training the score lines to go in the direction I want. So then I'll flip it, fold up, flip it, fold up, flip it, fold up, flip it, fold up, all the way down. And I have many tutorials on this pop-up. It's one of our more popular dies, and I always create a book for every collection I bring out. So it's a very popular set, and if you want to see a slowed down version of this, I will link to another video. But now that I have my accordions ready to go, you can see that I can just slide them into each other, and all of those mountains and valleys kind of lock into place and connect to each other. I will show that again. I am going to prep my tape. You're going to need 4 squares of strong tape for this part, so I have those ready to go. So again, I'll take my long piece and my short one and just interconnect all of those mountains and valleys, and then press them together pretty firmly, and then you'll be left with 2 flaps on each side. You're going to want to close those. So you're going to open the 2 flaps, add 1 square of tape, again make sure it's nicely sealed, and then fold down each flap, and then the other one will just go right on top. It doesn't matter which one you fold down first, as long as they're both closed off so that your accordion will stay in place. You're going to do the same thing on the back side, just for some extra security. You can see I opened up those 2 flaps. I will add 1 square of tape down, remove the backing, and then fold 1 flap down on top of it. I will add the second square of tape on top of that, and then fold down the second flap. And then you basically repeat the same process until all 4 sides are connected and you're left with that accordion shadow box. So I have my other short piece that I'm going to add on the opposite side, intertwining those mountains and valleys. I have my 4 squares of tape ready to go so that I can tape down each of those flaps. So this video is a part of an Instagram hop, and we have a ton of designers. I think there's like 13 or 14 different projects, maybe even more than that, because I do have quite a few guest designers for this collection, and I really have to give props to my team and the guest designers because they made incredible projects with this latest collection. If you have not participated in an Instagram hop, now is the time to do it because the inspiration is phenomenal. So I will have my Instagram link down below, and if you leave a comment on each post along the hop, you can enter yourself to win one of two $25 gift cards to Scrappy Tales. So this was the card I made for the hop, and I just decided to film the process, but the hop did start this morning. All right, and then you'll be down to the last corner of the box, and this is where it gets pretty tight, but you can still easily kind of snug those corners together and fold down those two flaps on each side. And I am using lightweight cardstock for the shadow box just because this does become quite dimensional when it's all done, and it will be very sturdy. So I did use heavyweight cardstock for the front and back cover that you saw me make at the beginning, just so that I guess it's more substantial. But I do suggest lightweight for this shadow box or for the pages of the book. All right, so that creates the inside, and all you have to do is just glue that to the inside of the book. So here I'm bringing in my book, and then that's just going to lay right inside. Now again, if I would have cut the panels to be 6.5 by 4.5, it would have left more room inside. And it isn't until I finish this cover plate where I realize that the cover plate is 1/4 inch shorter than an A7 card base. So I decide to trim down my book, but I didn't trim down my papers. So the papers end up being the same size as the book, at least lengthwise. So just be mindful of that. It didn't mess up my design because I've made so many of these books. I can line up pretty much anything, and it ended up being okay, but I thought I would throw that out there. So what I'm working with now is the A7 Berry Branch cover plate, and I cut it from several shades of green cardstock and also green glitter. And I thought it would be fun to almost paper piece this cover plate with the different shades of green. So there are specific illustrations in the branch that have different types of leaves. So I am cutting each plate with the same type of leaf. So for the craft, I am cutting all the berry branches, and then I will add pearls in the place of the berries, which you'll see. For the almost, I guess, rounded leaf branch, I decided to go with the light glitter cardstock for that design. For the pine needles, I actually left that as a solid cover plate. So I will make the pine needles dark green, but I'm not going to fussy cut them out. I am instead going to just glue all the other elements on top of a dark green cover plate, and once it's all covered, the only dark green you're going to see are the pine needles. Then I have a medium shade of green that I am cutting all of the holly leaves. So this did take quite a bit of time. I think it was about 25-ish minutes to completely cut all the pieces and glue them back together. And I did do this twice. So I'm showing you one version with the light green glitter, but I also off camera created one with a darker green glitter. The other shades of green are the exact same colors. And also I added in craft because felt like I needed something to break up all the green, and it's a nice neutral. You can see in the top right, I did die cut the large poinsettias from the poinsettia topper I showed. I did not cut anything else from that set, just the individual flowers. Those will go inside my book. And then the berry branch cover plate also includes some word dies that say Merry Christmas and also Christmas Party. So this is going to be a Christmas party invitation, but I opted to put the party information on the front of the book and then I just added Merry Christmas on the inside. But if you wanted to, you could put Christmas, or you're invited to a Christmas party using the word dies on the front of the book, and then have your party information on the inside. I did do that on another book example in my showcase video. So if you'd like to see that, I will have that video linked. And I believe there's only today and tomorrow to leave a comment for the $50 gift card that I'm giving away for that video. I will be back on either Sunday or Monday with another video, and I will announce the winner in that. All right, so here is that solid cover plate that I did not cut anything out of. I left everything intact, and I'm just gluing all these pieces right on top. So the only thing that will be showing on this dark green panel, like I said, are the pine needles. I felt like those would be the most fiddly to cut out, so I opted to just leave the whole plate solid. Now, this cover plate coordinates with our new Christmas Party 6x8 stamp set. This cover plate and the A7 mountain cover plate, which is included in the card kit with the stamp set, coordinate with it. So I wanted you to have an option if you are creating more elegant Christmas party invites. This is the cover plate, in my opinion, that you would use instead. And the oval in the center perfectly matches the oval with the party information from that stamp set. So you'll see that later. All right, so here I'm just lining up all those little pieces, and you can really see this cover plate went from beautiful, because if you just use one shade of green cardstock, it is really pretty. But once I added all these different shades of green and then the pops of the craft, it just really started looking beautiful. You can even go in with Copic markers and add a little bit of shading if you want. But I kept mine completely with solid cardstock. And I did die cut all the pieces from heavyweight just because I like the dimension. All right, so we're almost done finishing up the last couple pieces. And then the die also includes the flowers separately. So I die cut those from silver mirror cardstock. The word dies I cut from silver mirror as well, so I thought I would tie that in with the flowers. And I love this color scheme for Christmas. It's not one that I tend to go to very often, but at least once a year I create a card with this particular color scheme, and I think it's really pretty. All right, so now I'm going to add my flowers. I'm also going to stamp out my party information with Versamark ink and pour silver embossing powder over that, so that will also tie in some more silver. Like I said, I decided to add tiny little berries to all the branches. Now that's optional. This did add a lot of time. It almost took more time to add the berries than it was to cut and add the leaves on top, but it looks really pretty when it's all finished. So I just used white pearls, and I just found a mix that had white in it, but I think we do have an all white pearl mix that I will link to. But I love that our mixes have several colors of embellishments. So in that mix, there's also blue pearls that you can use if you're doing maybe a blue, white, and silver cover plate. And then you can see there's also some clay snowflakes, which are nice for shaker cards. All right, so I wanted a bit more craft. So what I did is I took that scrap, that was left over from me cutting the branches, and I cut the outer frame from that. And I really like how that looks. So I'm going to glue that on top. I had to move two of my pearls off because they were overlapping the frame. So I'll add the frame and then just glue those pearls back on. And I just think that looks really pretty. I think this would be awesome if you were doing a Christmas themed wedding. I just think that would be a stunning wedding invitation. All right, so here is that stamp set I was talking about, and I decided to cut it up because I did not want that outer frame. I wanted to leave as much of that dark green showing as possible. I just really wanted the text that says date, time, RSVP, and then also I wanted a different sentiment at the top. Now, you don't have to cut up your stamp. For me, it's quite painful actually to cut stamps up, but I knew I was going to be doing a 10 card one kit video anyway, and I was going to have to do it at some point. So as you can see, it all just lines up perfectly fine back on the packaging, and this just allows you to have some more options when you are creating your invites. You can have some that have that dotted frame. You can have some without it, like this one, and then it's a lot easier to just swap out the header as well. So I went ahead and did that, stamped everything with Versamark ink. I am using some Ranger silver embossing powder, just sprinkling that over, and this looked super elegant. I really like that I didn't go with that dotted frame because I felt like it would have been too much. So yeah, that's how it looks when I heat set the powder. And that is going to go on the front cover. Now, like I said, I did another one of these plates off camera. So here you can see I did add that shadow box inside, and now I'm going to add some strips of green onto the spine of the book just to finish that off. I did leave a little bit of cream showing through. So the front and back cover I did cut from a pale cream heavyweight cardstock. This is Nina. It's called Natural. So when I bought it, I thought it was white. But if you want white, you have to buy Solar White. Natural White is almost this cream, very pale cream color, but it's still really pretty, especially for warmer cards. I would use Solar White if I was going for maybe silver, white, and blue. So here's that second plate, and I just wanted kind of the foliage, or yeah, the greenery. I didn't want it to be one solid piece. So I'm cutting around the oval. I'm also going to cut off the frame edge. And then I am still going to put each of these arrangements on the top left and bottom right corner here, but it shows more of that craft shadow box frame. So I like how that looks, and it looks a little bit different from the front cover as well. So I'll do the same thing to the other half. I have to go around those berries pretty carefully. So that's just super pretty, and I think that those edge pieces would be pretty on their own if you're creating a pop-up with some kind of flower arrangement. You can also add those larger poinsettias from the poinsettia topper die set. You can tuck those into the shadow box if you want. I did consider doing that, but I wanted to keep the inside a little more simple because I spent so much time on the front. Normally when I make these books, I spend longer on the inside and less time on the outside. But in total, this card definitely took well over 2 hours to make, so these are always a labor of love. That's why I only tend to make 1 or 2 of these for each of the collections I come out with, but they really are stunning, and I bring these books with me to trade shows or to events, and they are always the first ones that people gravitate towards because they're just so unique. You can also add a gift card in there. So I did add glue to the edges where the leaves overhang the shadow box frame. Gave that a couple seconds to dry. I did add a panel of green onto the left side, and this is where I plan on adding those larger poinsettias. I just cut them from white cardstock, double layering them so they're a little more substantial, and they're just gonna go on the top and bottom corner. So there's kind of a theme here. It's very symmetrical, which I do like. And that is where you can write a personal message. Those poinsettias also come with centers, but I didn't add them. For some reason, I just didn't want to. Maybe I was lazy, but also I'm okay with it not having the centers. So I just moved on. Here is my Merry Christmas. Again, this word as well as party are included in the berry branch cover plate, which I love. This plate is stunning. And a couple designers actually on the hop use this branch cover plate for more cutesy designs, which when I was designing it as the illustrator, I was seeing a more traditional, elegant design, but I was so impressed by how people made it into more whimsical, cute designs. All right, so the Merry Christmas just wasn't standing out, which, yeah, that makes sense because it's such a skinny word. So I am going to add a shadow behind it with some dark green cardstock. So I'm just going to freehand. First, I glued the words, and then I'll just cut around, creating a bubble around the word. And this helped it stand out. It also helped to glue it onto my clear stick, which I will show you. It added a lot more surface area to adhere. All right, so I'm just going to cut around that Mary. And then this card is almost finished up, but I did want the Merry Christmas to look like it's floating farther into the book. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take some clear packaging. I get a lot of questions on what I use. These are clear 12 by 12 sheets that I just cut into strips. My trimmer can cut through it fine. I don't know if all trimmers will cut through it because it is basically thin plastic. It's the same material that most packaging comes in. So you can use that. I will link to my 12 by 12 sheets. They are an American small business company. So, well, small business company. They are a small company made in the USA. So I will link to them. I love their products. I've been using their clear sheets even before I started Scrappy Tales, when I just sold my handmade greeting cards. So I just ran a strip across the left and right page of the accordion, just tucked it in to maybe the third page so that it was a little deeper in, and then I was just able to lay my word dies right on top. So that finishes off my card today. Thank you guys for watching. I will have the Instagram hop linked down below so you can see the other designers' projects. I will have also the products I used linked down below. So I will see you in my next video. Bye.